Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for this week's chapter at Tower of God. We got chapter 447 or season 3 episode 30. So yeah, either way, let's talk about this week's chapter. I really liked it. It was another one like CU said in the blog a few weeks back that we'd be getting just a bunch of combat and chaotic stuff week to week. So it's going to be one of those where you can kind of go through them, reading them a little bit faster because it's mostly just action scenes and stuff, rather than a whole lot of info dropping and all that. But this one was really good, both in terms of action scenes and in terms of giving us more really important information. But either way, to start off from the beginning, we learned that Raccon actually saw Gato entering the Doom Sphere, so that might explain why Kanzone hasn't just busted up in there and how Gato and Bomb are even having this face-off without Kanzone getting involved. But we don't see Kanzone at all, I don't believe, so he's kind of still MIA from the story at the moment. Looks like we're getting second-in-command Jordan, though. I mean, Kanzone didn't take out Gato. But Michael's group arrives, basically being a thorn in Kun's side, so to speak. And back to the bomb stuff, we have the transformation from Gato, the deepest, darkest legs, which is just a hilarious name. But it's sort of similar to what we've been seeing from his transformation. I also, oh man, getting into we cut away from the bomb stuff when he's like, oh, I need some more power, so I don't know how that's gonna go. But then we get into the good stuff. This Khel Hellam and Yama stuff is so good. But I love seeing Khel Hellam's power just so large and so wide-reaching that it's like it's reaching Jordan and Death Lady and Grande and White's group and Karaka. It's all like really, really, really cool. I've been saying week to week, I don't want to repeat myself too much about how I love how Khel Hellam seems like a character who is special. Like, CU has actually taken the time to set him apart from other really strong characters. And I love the way it all looks and everything. Now, at first when I was reading for the live reaction, it looked like they were just showing all these different characters and they were just showing Paul like they did with the rest of them. But in hindsight, going back to read again, take notes and everything, it actually seems like Paul may have blocked some of the attack in order to protect the cage a bit. Which seems interesting, since Paul was very much willing to just kill some random canine people toward the beginning of the arc. But I'm cool with it because they may, of course, still need or want to use the cage as their base of operations and stuff. So it makes sense Paul trying to protect it a bit. Also, it would make Paul seem cooler if he's blocking a bit of this attack, even though we see that it still did some damage to a lot of things. But Evankel then summons her Elephant Sasanoo to compete Ancient versus Ancient. She's going to fight the Ancient that's using Khel Hellam as a host. Now this is very, very interesting. So we get confirmation here, pretty much, that Khel Hellam isn't actually an Ancient. They have an Ancient using them as a host, which is really cool. We don't know the complete sort of, I don't know, not dynamics of it, well, I guess you could say it that way, the mechanics of it, that's what I was thinking of. We don't know exactly how it works, if it's like a spiritual thing and the Elder is like using its Shinsu to live sort of like as a spirit within Khel Hellam, or if they were physically fused within them, or what it is. But it also gives us more development for Evankel, because we know that Evankel said before that they use the power of the Ancient, they're not one. They also have this Elephant Sasanoo, sort of similar to the ox or bull one that's being used by Khel Hellam. So it would make sense that Evankel, could also potentially be a host for one. Or they could have, like I had theorized before, merged themselves with one somehow, taken their power for themselves. Either one of those could potentially be true, and either way, the one that is living within or fused with Evankel could still potentially be Evankel and, Yeon Hana. I kept wanting to say Woon Yeon for some reason. Yeon Hana's master. But yeah, either way, and if that also corresponds to potentially what the races of Ancient look like, or the 5 lineages that came from the giant, if Rack controls Rock and he's very alligator-like, then maybe there were more people that sort of branch family of the ancients that were elephant people that used fire, and were ox or bull people that used plants. And that leaves us with two others that we haven't seen yet. The sort of crystal ice one that I remember. I don't know whether it's crystal or whether it's ice. And was another one lightning? Did we also see lightning? I don't remember. I remember of the five of them, I definitely remembered plants, I definitely remembered rocks, and I definitely remembered fire, and the one that we were all trying to guess if it was crystal or if it was ice, because it could go either way. So if those are four of them, I can't remember if the fifth one was water or if it was lightning. I think it may have been lightning. But it'll be cool to see if we see anybody else using those sorts of those sorts of ancient powers. And it's interesting, too, to note that the only actual pure-blood ancient that we've seen is Rak, so it'll be cool to see if we see any actual ancients from any of these other pathways, because so far we've seen Rak, we've seen the sort of half or partial, not pure-blooded ancient descendants that were Hess and Hess's brother, whose name I forget. I don't even know if they had a name other than Hess's brother. I'm pretty sure they probably did, though. And we've seen people who were using the powers of ancients, whether they're fused with them physically or spiritually or however it works. So it'll be interesting to see if we see more people that are actually like Rak, any more actual ancients or not. But we have Khel, of course, saying that, yeah, they're going to take on the ancient. Yama needs to fight Khel Hellam himself. They also bring up something that I like a lot because it brings in a lot of coherency and consistency with previous arcs, where Khel mentions the ancient probably can't use any more power because it's afraid of drawing the attention of the administrator. And of course that was something that Khel had to worry about on the last station, where if they use too much power as an ancient, or as somebody who has the powers of an ancient, the administrator was going to get involved, and we saw that they did get involved. If we're counting administrator and guardian obviously as separate things. But the translation doesn't always, in line at least, the translation doesn't always distinguish between the two of them. So yeah, it's cool. It's bringing in this logical consistency of Khel couldn't use too much of their powers without drawing the attention in the last station, so of course Khel Hellam has the same restriction here, where Khel Hellam's going to hold back a bit as to not draw the attention of the administrator. Also, it seems that when Yama first goes in for an attack and we see the sort of arrow exploding from Khel Hellam, it seems like Paul has gotten really close to their fight, so Paul could get involved in this somehow. Maybe it seems that they might have finally gotten into close proximity. It was just this weird one-off panel we saw where Paul looked really close. Then Yama uses complete transformation. I like the way it looks, it's pretty cool. I was kind of expecting him to go full-on like monstrous werewolf dog thing, and that's kind of what my expectations were set on, but Super Saiyan Yama's cool enough too. And once he uses complete transformation, and this is just the beginning of complete transformation, he brought up that it's just the beginning or the initial stages, there's probably even further that he can go, but we see a flashback to end off the chapter where, again, I love Yama's development. I've said multiple different ways throughout this arc he's been developed well, whether it's been the way that he's wanted to kill Doom but held back on it for the sake of his people, but now he's held back so long and suffered so much because of it that he's just ready to kill Doom, or whether it's that he puts on this sort of act to be big and scary because it works well with his power for people to be afraid of him, but in reality he's actually a really pretty kind-hearted person. So again, it's really cool the way that's done, and now we have another thing that adds further into that, where I love the distinguishing feature here being that Doom wanted canine people to be dominant to defend him, but Yama wanted to be dominant to defend the canine people. It's so cool the difference there between them, and it explains why Yama's so much stronger than Doom, and it also makes logical sense because Doom, of course, wouldn't need to be the strongest on his own because he has, at least if he had his fang, complete control over the canine people. So again, really, really cool how we have just this difference in the two of them there. But in the blog, it is mentioned that there was something else I thought I was going to bring up that was mentioned in the blog, but at least one thing I was going to bring up from it was that CU said the flashbacks weren't in the previews, they were added in order to sort of reinforce the story going on, and because he felt like the chapter was a little on the shorter side. So I like this. The flashback was really good, so I love that it was added in, and I always like hearing sort of these little details where things get changed or things are added in from the previews to the official sort of free release. But yeah, as for the whole of it all, we didn't see too much of the bomb stuff, and I'm still not sure how I'm feeling about that. In general, I'm like sort of optimistic, where it's like, okay, yeah, let's see where it goes and all that. But mostly we focused on the Khel Hellam and Yama and Evan Kell stuff, and I loved all of that because the action was good, and not only was the action good, but we also got really good information and plot progression for everything. So yeah, I'd give it 9 tree blasts out of 10. I really, really, really enjoyed this one, and just the scope and how large it is, seeing somebody like Khel Hellam fight compared to just these other people. And it's also interesting to note, like I was saying sort of, I think it was maybe last week, that Khel Hellam isn't a slayer, so it would seem that ancients can't break the curse of immortality or whatever, or else he would be a slayer himself. But it's cool to see that he is not afraid of Yama, so he could potentially be plenty stronger than slayers, just not have what it takes to break the immortality contracts. Which is, I don't know, it's just really cool in itself. And he has this extra added development that we didn't get to see any more of this week, but we got at the end of last week, where we know the reason he wants to use the army is so that he can go and protect this sort of peaceful country that's outside of Zahard's empire's control that's about to be attacked. So yeah, really cool story going on. I've really liked the latest bits of this arc. But yeah, 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it and hope you did too. Like if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts in it and everything like that. Subscribe for more. Tower of God much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. If you'd like to help support the channel on Patreon, it's patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or there will be a link in the description. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, then it's free and open for anyone. Just ask and I can give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.